I'm so excited to talk to
gonna be fun.
Colton Dixon. Thanks for being here, Colton.
Thanks for having me back.
I understand that when you're a parent, time is like even more important. So the fact that you carved out time to be here is huge.
Yes.
And I know that you've probably had a very unique experience even being a parent in a pandemic like I have. But
Yes.
Can I ask you what has it been like this last, I think I saw you 10 months ago.
Yep.
If you had to like summarize the last 10 months in becoming a parent in the pandemic, what has that experience been like?
I mean, anyone would say this last year's just bonkers crazy anyway, but then you add a baby. Honestly, like I feel like adding two babies
Yeah.
made it really sweet. And I don't know what your experience was like, but like for us, because of the pandemic and because of regulations and all those things, restrictions, we were pretty limited on who could be at the hospital. Like it was pretty much just me at the hospital. But then even afterwards, we didn't really know what we were facing. So and especially we're not going to take chances with babies.
No.
So we were pretty sheltered on, we would order groceries and spray them down with thieves whenever they came in, like the whole thing,
You can't take any chances.
Yeah, we weren't
with
taking
babies.
chances.
Yeah.
But honestly, it was just a really sweet time for her and I. Even during the pregnancy, COVID hit the babies were in August, so we had time to adjust to pandemic life before. But it was just such a sweet time for us as a couple, as a marriage, and now as parents. I would be on the road otherwise, and that's just starting to pick back up. But all that time, as they were like babies, not infants, but babies, I was home for. And I'm so
Concentrated time.
thankful, because I don't know if I would have been there the whole time otherwise. So such a sweet time for us. How was it for you?
Yeah, I would say it's the same way. We actually felt really bad for anyone we ever visited in the hospital. I was like, why did they let visitors in?
Yes. We felt the same way. Like, who would want to see this?
You've been through trauma. You have not slept. You're scared out of your mind. And I was like, and people are like, let me come see you. You look terrible. And I was so grateful that no one could come. And my husband's a minister, so he started apologizing to anyone that he would visit, like as the minister, to be like, we're here to see the baby and represent the church. He was like, I'm so sorry I did that. So I agree that like having no one at the hospital was special. And then, I mean, the one gift we got during the pandemic is time. Like you couldn't do anything else. And while at moments I wanted help, I was like, can someone just come help us? And you had to. I can't imagine.
Yes.
I was so grateful that like you're learning how to be parents together. Like there's this whole new, you're learning so much. And the fact that we kind of got to learn it quietly at home instead of thrown back into the world the way most people are.
Yes.
That was a gift.
It was a huge gift.
Yeah.
I would be awful if I also didn't mention my in-laws basically moved in with us for a month.
Did they? Because they live close. Yeah.
Yeah. And we told them, like, as they were going back, I'm like, do we need to put you on salary? Like, what do we need to do to keep you here? Because I don't know how this is going to happen.
Oh, yeah. When I put my mom on a plane, I cried terribly. And I said, I cannot do it. Please don't go. And she was like, you can. And then they just came back to visit. And isn't it amazing when you're like, no, we're doing it.
We're doing it,
like, we're making it happen. Your girls are, you said 7 months, right?
7 months, yeah.
Okay, so I got to interview you before they were born, and we talked about the things we were scared about. Well, mostly me, but you were also scared about a few things. So
You'll have to remind me.
List a few, and I want to hear how you've done.
Okay.
If it was a viable fear. Okay, we talked about what happens if you don't think the babies are cute as soon as they're born. That was like a viable thing. But, I mean, and I said I hoped mine was as cute as Baby Yoda, and he is.
Oh,
but
man.
What about, your angels, as soon as you saw them, can you tell us about that moment, too?
Well, we had a little scare with one of ours, with Dior, which was, that kind of shifted our way of thinking. So we were like spiritual fight mode there for a second.
Yeah. It's not that like perfect moment that you imagine or people describe.
Right.
Yeah.
It was different, which also, whenever you're expecting something and it's so the opposite, emotions are really heightened and they get in the way of what you know to be true. It gets in the way of logic and in the way of even spiritual truth sometimes. So you really have to fight to keep those down. I'm thankful that my wife is awesome, basically. But I remember both of ours went up to NICU just to make sure, twins, I think, it was just protocol. And They were working on Dior. She was the one with the scare. But Athens was just so tiny there in her little, bassinet.
How much? Do you remember how much they weighed?
Athens was 5 pounds, 6 ounces or 7 ounces.
So small, Colton.
And Dior was 7 pounds, 1 ounce.
Wow.
So,
but still tiny. Those are really small babies.
They are. Apparently for twins, though, they're like, yo, your twins are healthy.
Such a blessing.
And Annie, she went almost 2 weeks past twin due date. So she was 39 and a half weeks with twins.
What a queen.
She
Gosh.
I'm like, you are the exception to every rule.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
So I remember just kind of sitting there with Athens and just like having my hand in, and she grabbed my finger. That was it. I waved the checkbook and said, whatever you want.
Like, I'm a new person?
I'm just, what is this feeling?
Oh, my word.
It was crazy. Just having those moments was just so special.
And we talked about if you had a girl, which at the time, I don't know if you knew it was twins. We talked about what if it's a girl, you were like, I'm going to be a disaster. And I was like, oh, snap, he has 2 girls.
Oh, yeah. We got 2.
Wow, and
Lord
they're beautiful.
Jesus, they are gorgeous. We don't know what to do with ourselves.
Yeah.
We're just
so beautiful from day one. I mean, that was a dumb worry. It was mostly mine.
Yes.
That they'd be cute.
No,
Duh.
I totally understand what you're saying though.
Yeah,
some people
beautiful.
introduce their baby and you're like,
We were lucky. We didn't have those babies.
Yeah, we
Ours
didn't.
were perfect.
That's right.
Okay, we talked about changing diapers, and we were really freaked, and we were like, maybe we'd have to wear a mask. Little did we know we'd be wearing masks for other reasons.
That's true.
How's the diaper game? I mean, was that a legitimate worry?
Least of my worries.
See? Yeah, me too.
Yeah, the whole spit up thing. I would rather change a dirty diaper than get spit up on.
Same. Did they spit up bad? Mine did.
They it took us a second to like find like formula that they were digging.
Same.
There was a moment there, and this is hilarious. I don't know why we got started. Probably just because we knew it was going to be better for them. But we used Fiji water a couple times in their like formula maker thing.
Oh,
we got
yes.
one of those like baby Keurigs basically.
You need one, we do.
And for anyone who is about to have a baby, or maybe you still have babies who are doing the formula thing, get it.
Worth it.
In the middle of the night, God forbid in the middle of the night, but in the middle of the night when you're just like, and then you have to warm up a bottle.
No, it's
just
terrible.
Say no. Spend however much money. I think it's a couple $100. It's worth every penny.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's just a game changer. But anyway, we used Fiji one time.
The really expensive stuff.
And they won't drink anything but Fiji now. I'm like, oh my God, this is not good.
You have the prissiest girls. They're like, Fiji water in my formula or nothing.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is Kroger brand.
Yeah, that's how you learn. You're like, I can't. Don't even do it one time because they won't take anything else.
But they don't spit up as much. So I'm like, okay, just, whatever it costs.
Maybe
Fiji.
we all should be drinking Fiji water. We didn't mean to turn this into an advertisement for that, but it
I know
is.
we didn't.
2 other ones, roll in labor. You said, I hope she just doesn't kick me out of the room. I mean, that's what you literally said, Colton. I'm like, I think she's going to need you. So did you find your role in labor? Did you like the way that a woman just is like, I'm going to do this? Did you just take over and you're like, I got it?
So it was a really long labor process.
Sure.
When I say long labor, everything looked great. She started going into labor naturally, which was awesome.
Good.
But when we got there, things weren't progressing as they needed to. Mm-hmm. So then they started helping along, but it still didn't quite get fully there.
Man.
But it was about 30 hours from when we got to the hospital.
She is very strong.
Strong. But then at one point, the doc is like, okay, I think we should switch gears and go C-section.
Okay.
So it never fully like, I don't remember how long, and I don't want my wife to listen to this and be like, it was definitely longer than that. I don't remember how long it was actually like go time. Like,
yes.
All right, let's start pushing. Let's do the thing.
Because you're finding your way through all of that of what she needs.
So I was up holding her hand the whole thing, just there. Like I'm letting the doc talk and do her thing,
mm-hmm.
and I'm just kind of there for moral support.
Being a
like,
rock, yeah.
I'm
that's all
like,
you can
okay.
Do.
Gosh, there was at one point, I think Annie really wanted to have babies naturally. She had this thing in her head, and And normally when she has her mindset on something, she gets it done. That's just who she is. This was obviously out of her control. But I remember a point, her being a little disappointed, and I'm like, there's absolutely nothing to be disappointed about. And I have total peace about the C-section thing. I don't know what you're getting, but I think we're going to be fine.
That's where you're so needed.
Yeah, but I think at this point, like, let's just move forward and push ahead and ask God to be in the room. And so that's what we did. And then we had the baby scare. So it was like, so we started like going spiritual warfare there, and it's just like, whoa. And we had people praying across the country. Wow. And it's like people just sensed it. Like they didn't even really know that we were in labor that day. But they're like, we need to pray for Annie and
that is
the
incredible.
Babes. Yeah. So
you didn't know the role you need to play, but you needed to be spiritually like ready
to
fight.
I mean, the moral of the story is we always need to be spiritually ready to fight, you know, like
so
that'll
true.
Preach.
That is so true.
But you never know what's going to come about. And I'm not saying like, I was like in the word getting ready to like fight for my child's life all the time. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But just knowing how to spot the enemy at work is so big because it just shifts things in your perspective. Yeah. It doesn't seem as like, I don't know, as grand. I always picture like the wizard in Wizard of Oz. Like they look behind the curtain, it's just like this puny little thing.
Yes.
That's the devil. So like someone told me that one time and it just completely rocked my world when I look at things. So I'm like, okay, we have the upper hand here and we have the authority to speak things back the way they need to be. So that's what we're going to do. Yeah. And we're obviously going to ask God to like use his healing power here over our daughter. But whenever we did that, just things shifted for us. So,
and you got to watch that miracle because she's doing great.
She is perfect. Just perfect.
And I mean, your song Miracles is playing on Way FM like crazy.
That's awesome. Thank you guys.
People love it. We talked a long time ago about how you'd been going through a hard season and then you found out you were pregnant with twins and you were like learning how to trust God. And you said faith precedes the miracle, and I loved that, and that has stuck with me. And then what has it been like living that song out in more ways than you imagine? We just talked about Dior. I mean, God knew you were going to need that song.
It's amazing when you write a song and then you have to actually live it.
Good and bad, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Be careful what you write, songwriters, because it's going to come back around, I promise. I think that when we come with faith, that God gave us here. Let's not go into full theology here. God gave us free will, right? So he's just not going to zap things the way he wants them. That's why we pray, your will be done, not ours, right? So when we do that, we release his will over our lives. So it's the same thing. When we come with faith, we release his miracle working power in our lives. But when we come with fear, God can't work with that. It puts God in a box.
And there's been so much fear in the last year.
Oh my gosh. Fear is the pandemic of 2020. I'm not discrediting COVID because it's a real thing and you know, whatever. We don't have to get into all that. But
you're right.
But fear is, and it's still plaguing our country. And the enemy knows fear is power. So just don't give it to him. Don't give him the time of day. I'm not saying be dumb, but I'm like, be smart and whatever.
And it can plague you as a parent, if you don't mind me saying.
Sure.
Can I ask tangibly for any other parent listening, how have you fought the fear of, I don't know what to do here, or I don't know what I'm doing? How have you fought the fear in those moments? Because I'm sure you felt it like I have.
Yeah. Being the male and my wife, it's almost like she just knows what to do. She would probably not agree, but she just is such a pro at this. It's like, you were born to do this. I think that's in every woman. It's just that motherly nature that's inherently in them. So it's been so cool. Like if I don't know something, and Annie is also a researcher, so she's read the Baby Wise and the Moms on Call and all the stuff, and you know, and I've read some. Probably should just read it.
You just ask her. It's not exciting reading.
Yes. But it's great having her, because in those moments where I'm like, I'm not sure what the protocol is here. If she doesn't know, she just has this calmness that's just inherently in her.
Yeah.
But yeah, like having people around you who've done it that you trust.
That you can
That
lean
is so
on.
important. That aren't up in your business. They'll just let you do your thing. But if you have
Yeah.
questions, they're like, oh yeah, here's how it was for us. And if you need help, let us know.
Yeah.
Those people are so important. If you don't have them, go find them.
Yeah, they're there.
They're there. But yeah, it's been crazy, and there are moments where we don't know, and it can be scary. But like I said, like God can work with faith; He can't work with fear. So just even with that in mind, just kind of motivates us to go. Even if we don't feel like it, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
you're good. We know you're good. You've come through with us every single time before. Who's to say you won't do it again?
Yeah.
So here we go.
Yeah, that's
Blind
so
faith.
good.
So
And I think looking back at the ways he's been, that he's already shown up in the, not just in the last couple of years, but even in the pandemic, the ways that he has been good, the ways that you've seen him, you know, do small miracles in your world, like keeping that track record, I think helps our faith in the future with all the fear and stuff.
Completely agree.
And I don't have a lot more time with you, so I wanted
That's
to
all right.
ask you about Made to Fly, which is your new song. And there's this rugged determinedness to kind of fight the way that we just talked about in that song. Can I ask where that came from? Is it stuff you've experienced this year?
Yeah. Well, this last year, I'm putting myself in this category. I used to be the artist that used to like see a problem and tell everybody what they should do. But then I realized, why am I not lumping myself into this equation? Because I'm very much the same. I see so many people, myself included, getting so caught up in how to walk that we forget that we were set apart, that God says we were made to soar on wings like eagles, right? So,
Yes.
and with that, it's twofold. You can't fly when you're weighted down. Second part of that is whenever you're looking out of an airplane, it's a different perspective, and you see things a lot more grand, but things just seem more simple. Like
They
the higher you
do.
go, you see the little grids on the land, right? And then you get higher and whatever. It's just perspective. You see the forest instead of just a tree.
Yeah.
So that was so important to me. This last year was just crazy for so many people, and so many people have questions, and we're so caught up in remembering how to walk. I'm like, guys, we are so far above this. We just are. So if we just recognize the spiritual authority that we had as
Yes.
believers, we wouldn't be so caught up in all of these little like pesky things that the enemy's doing here on earth. We just wouldn't. We wouldn't be so concerned about who's president. Like,
Say it. All the fights that people are having that are about things that ultimately
Sure.
distract
yeah,
from what we're
like
supposed to
I
be
voted
doing.
for someone. You voted for someone. That's great. Like we did what we thought we should do. But that if your person didn't get in, or if he did, whatever, that doesn't mean God is still not on the throne. God is still on the throne, and He's still in control. I think that we need to line up ourselves with His will.
Yeah.
That's the counterpart people forget about. They're like, oh, well, God has a plan. You know, I'm like, yeah, but are you in it?
That's so good.
Yeah, like,
Are you
Yeah.
in line with it? Do you care the specifics of it?
yeah, like maybe we should like actually figure out what that plan is. And,
Yeah.
and it says, my plans for you are to prosper you and to give you a hope and a future. I hate it when people like take bad circumstances, like, oh, you know, God did this because He's teaching me a lesson. No, the enemy did that to drag you down, but God uses that for good. So just lean into Him. And yeah, sorry, I'll stop preaching. But all of that in a nutshell was kind of made to fly. It's like, man, we're so caught up in learning how to walk when really we were made to fly and we were made to prosper. And so let's get to that place. So yeah.
You can preach that all day because we need that all day.
Yeah, I need that all day too. So I'm talking to myself, but feels good to say. Yeah.
Yes. Colton, thank you for your time.
Yeah,
We're
thank you
always
so
grateful to
much.
see you. And congrats on the babies. You're doing it.
Thank you. Or congrats to you for the babies. Baby.
All right.